Hello YouTube, TheBLOB here, and I just wanted to talk for a minute about Ninth Age army lists that don't use magic. That's right, I want to talk about army lists that don't use magic, which cuts out a whole phase of the game. So the idea was kind of running past my doorstep a couple times with my gaming group because they had discussed some people they had run into in tournaments, and there was a Bretonnian no magic list in 8th edition Warhammer that had gone around a couple tournaments. And then the main 9th Age guru of our gaming group played an Orcs and Goblins list with no magic, which I played against him with um, Vampire Covenant and got my butt beat and didn't take any pictures because I forgot the camera. But anyway, yeah, list with no magic. I went ahead and made a list for Were Night Goblins Stare with no magic, and you'll see it in maybe the next video or so. And let me run through the list real quick, just to sort of put it in context. But it's 2 Goblin Kings. One's the general, one's not. The general has Glittering Cuirass, Kingslayer, Talisman of Greater Shielding. The guy taking the challenges for him hopefully has a shield, Axe of Battle, Hand of Protection Pension. Black Orc Chief with a Lucky Shield, Blade of Strife, Plate Armor War Boar. This guy just rides around, causes trouble. 2 Goblin Chiefs, 46 points because they got great weapons. Cave Goblin Chief BSB, great weapon, light armor, and the Iron Hide Icon, for a 5-up ward against shooting for whatever unit he's with. 2 sets of Spider Riders, 5 with Lance, Shield, Shortbow, Musician. The tricky unit that I've been fiddling with, the 20 Cave Goblins with bows, 3 Mad Gets, the icon of the Relentless Company for racing up into people's faces. Huge thing is 60 Cave Goblins. This is where the BSB should be with his 5-up ward against shooting. So 60 Cave Goblins, Spear Shield, 3 Mad Gets, full command, 8 Stone Trolls, 15 Nashes in a herd, which I've already been told is not nearly enough since they're the broken unit in the Orc and Goblin book right now. A Scrap Wagon with a Smasher and Pointed Sticks for AP2. A Skewerer, the Great Green Idol, a National Wrecking Team, double Get Launches and Splatter. So it's got 4 pieces of artillery, some area denial with Pump Wagon, Spider Riders for chaff, the Nasha Herd's a fighting unit, the Stone Trolls are a fighting unit, the Cave Goblins in a block of 60 is a fighting unit. But this is what I'm getting at here. This list has no magic, so I'm relying on these artillery pieces, and I'm relying on the closing of the gap. This army actually has to close the gap on the enemy, which is something that goblin armies generally don't always want to do. What is it about Magic Phase that terrified me when I thought about making a no magic phase army? First of all, the max number of dice I would ever get to dispel would be 6. And this is because in my opponent's magic phase, obviously he's rolling 2d6. I get the best, which will be a 6, and then I won't get to channel. The way the rules are written, you have to have a 7. And you add your pluses based on your wizards, how many wizards you have, and since I have none, I can't reach a 7. So I'm permanently locked at best at 6 dice. Which means worst case scenario, say my opponent rolls 12. Worst case scenario, he can't have more than 12 dice, but it's 12 to 6. If he rolls 11 dice and channels, it's still 12 to 6. And this, and it goes on and on. So, on bad magic phases, when I was sitting here constructing this list of night goblins, trolls, and whatnot. It was the super lopsided magic phases that I was really scared of. I wanted to be able to play this list at its full 2,500 points um, before making this sort of discussion video about lists, army lists in the ninth age with no magic. But when I did have a chance to play it the other day, and the video for episode 11 of Where Night Goblins Dare comes out, I could only get in a 1,500 point game, so I had to chop this list significantly down, but still played it with no magic. And I think you might be interested in the results, because it certainly wasn't a lopsided affair one way or the other. What happened point-wise when I decided to take an army with no magic? Well, right off the bat, sometimes I take a level 3 or 4 Orc Shaman, and he's got to be kitted out, so that gets pretty expensive right there. We're talking 350, 375, maybe more. He's got to be protected, so he has to have his own insurance item of some kind, be it a regen or a ward save. So I'm always conflicted with this guy anyway, because I would like to just buy a bunch of offensive magic items and let him die come what may, but because he's an orc model, he'll always be picked out by shooting in a night goblin army, so he's always got to have his insurance, ward, or regen save. So there's like almost 400 points right there. And then, level 1 cave goblin shamans are really cheap, but 2 of them plus a 30 point spell scroll, or 35, I can't remember right now. That adds up to, that's over 100 points. I think it's closer to 150, so let's call it maybe 550 points conservatively of a 2,500 point list was going to magic. And without having to do that in this list that I just ran through with you, I was able to take a wide variety of things that I was really happy to see the synergy with. So I was able to take the Great Green Idol, which conveys hatred, to a 60-man goblin unit. Or trolls. It says all friendly units in the wording, if I remember correctly. So, Spider Riders, Trolls, Nasha Herd, they all gain hatred. So, even though it's not a better monster than the Giant Spider, and point-wise, it's a little rough compared to the Giant Spider, I built one, so fuck it, it's in the list. And I was really happy to be able to work that in 2,500 points with no magic. And then a Nasha Wrecking Team for 70, which I almost never got to squeeze into a 2,500 point list. 8 Stone Trolls in a regiment, and still have room for scrap wagons and 5 artillery pieces. So yeah, that's just a list sort of that I want to discuss with you, but also the concept of a no magic list. And by the way, I forgot, the gaming group guys that I played Ninth Age with basically said I was crazy, because they're night goblins and because they're cave goblins and because there's no magic, I can't kill anything. That was the argument. There have to be orcs in a no magic orc and goblin list. An orc and goblin list with no magic and no orcs is just goblins, and they can't win. So stay tuned for that battle report. It'll be Wood Elves, and it'll be a very interesting test of a no magic ninth age list. This has been TheBLOB, and thanks for listening.